News this afternoon that country music legend George Jones has died. He died this morning in Nashville after being hospitalized with a fever and irregular blood pressure.
We learned today that George Jones has died.
He said, "I'll love you till I die."
Hey guys, how are you today? It is a little bit chilly out here, but you can tell where I am, right? If you watch my channel or you subscribe, you know I've gone to hundreds, if not thousands of cemeteries, but today I have a really special one. I'm in Nashville at Woodlawn Cemetery, and I want to visit the grave of an absolute legend in country music, George Jones. Now, this one's a little bit personal to me because my dad spent time with George on his tour bus when he came through our city. Came home with a stack of photos signed by George, and I'll show them to you. His wife Nancy was inside the Sears store shopping, and my dad was able to sit on the bus with him for a while, talk, and then he introduced my dad at the concert that night. Well, today we're going to visit his grave. We're going to talk a little bit about him, some of the songs, and some of the stories. Now, this is a country star-studded cemetery. I'm going to do those in another vlog because I want today to be about George Jones. I want to show you the grave and who else is buried there. There's another big country singer, well-known country singer, that he purchased his plot for, that's buried in George's area. So let's go over, we'll check it out. I'm currently going through 9 states, and we're checking out all different sites, so I want you guys to come along. I always forget to mention, check out my Instagram at InkBeardsman, and you can follow me there. But enough talking. Let's go over and see where George is buried. Now, you see this piece of property right here? This fenced area? This is all the Garden of the Grand Tour. And right over there is George Jones. I'll take you down there, and I will also show you some well-known people in the music industry. But let's go check it out. My hands are freezing. I probably should have put gloves on. That would have been smart. But let's go check it out, and we'll talk a little bit more about George Jones. Now let's walk over. Now he's probably best known for He Stopped Loving Her Today, which is just a beautiful song. Now you probably also remember when he was married to Tammy Wynette, and they were the country superstar duo. Well, he was married to Tammy Wynette, and she's actually buried in this cemetery too. And I'll do her grave and some others in another vlog, like I had mentioned. George Jones is buried right here. You can see right there, George Jones guest book available inside Funeral Home. We will go inside and sign that. But his family looks at it, wants to see where people have come from. But this is where the possum is buried. Now, he was nicknamed the possum because they said that he looked like that. And he was nicknamed, of course, No-Show Jones, because there were so many times throughout the years where he didn't show up for concerts. He was notorious for his hard living, and a lot of times that caused him to miss shows.
They call me No-Show. They call me No-Show Jones. Still never wrong. Still never wrong. Stage is singing my songs, but we're about to run long. They call me No-Show Jones. They call me No-Show Jones.
But this is it right here. Now, he left home at the age of 16 and went to Texas, where he performed on a local radio station. Let's see what it says. George Glenn Jones was and is the king of broken hearts. He sang of life's hardships and struggles in a way that somehow lightened our own. His voice was effortless. He brought unsurpassed emotional eloquence to every song he sang. He was and is the soul of country music. No one will ever fill his shoes. He is at rest, but his music is alive and ageless. He gifted it to all of us. To the joyful and broken, walk through this world with me, he sang, and we do. Now here it says, married March 4th, 1983, the Possum. I put a golden band on the right left hand. And then there, for when his wife passes, Nancy Ann Jones, no teenage boy ever fell harder for a girl than I fell for Nancy. When I met my future wife Nancy on a blind date in November 1981, I had no idea that someday she would save my life. They say love can change the world, the country legend said. I'm here to testify that it changed me for sure. Friends, family, doctors, therapists, and ministers had tried to save me, but to no avail. But finally, the power of love from one woman, Nancy Jones, made the difference and saved me, George Jones. Until his death in 2013, it was Nancy whom George Jones considered his soulmate. And you can see on the vases, GJ for George Jones. And there it is right there, George Jones, the Possum. September 12th, 1931, April 26, 2013. Now, another thing I was thinking about when I was listening to his music is that song, Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes? Because it talks about all the greats, of course, and who's gonna fill their shoes. Johnny Cash, the Man in Black, and it goes through all the country singers. But George Jones was one of those just bigger than life country singers that even other country singers that I've seen imitate others, they would never attempt to imitate George Jones. They just said he is bigger than life. Just bigger than life.
You know, I never heard you. I never heard you imitate George Jones. I never heard you try to sing like George.
You know, some people. I like to do George's songs. I do Jimmy Rogers songs. Some people, it's beyond that. You can't. There's people who have dedicated their whole life to sounding like George Jones.
Till I die.
And I'm actually surprised there's no movie on his life, because I would think that would be an interesting life. All his ups and downs, the times he's been in trouble, his marriage to Tammy Wynette, and his lifelong marriage after that to Nancy. But this is his grave right here. Absolutely beautiful. And there it says Jones right on top. Now we're going to take a look around. Right here, James Robert Douglas. Right there. James Robert Douglas Barones, 78 to 2014. The road to success is lined with many tempting parking spaces. Dream big, reach for the stars. Football player. And you can see the logo of the symbols on there. Now I'm going to get to another well-known country singer that's buried right here in this plot. But I'll show you around first. Shady Grove Lale and Billy Sherrill. Songwriter, producer, musician, child of God, and Charlene, his most beautiful girl. And here's the U.S. National Songwriter of the Year, 1972, Jerry and Pat Chestnut. Jerry Chestnut, Hall of Fame songwriter, and he's done so many songs. He's best known for authoring the hit singles A Good Year for the Roses and TROUBLE, Elvis and Travis Tritt. Now, compositions of his were recorded by tons of musicians. Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Alan Jackson, Loretta Lynn. In 1996, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He died in Nashville in December 2018 at the age of 87. I was under the impression that George owns this whole plot, but it does say here, Garden of the Grand Tour, available spaces and family estates, contact our office. So maybe he owns a majority of this, and there are some spaces available. Okay, remember I told you I was going to tell you about another country singer that's pretty big, that's buried right here in the same plot as George. Take this job and shove it. He's buried right over here. There he is right there. Check that out. Johnny Paycheck. Like I said, of course, he's remembered for Take This Job and Shove It. Now, in 1985, he was actually convicted of shooting a man in the head in Hillsboro, Ohio, and spent 2 years in prison. But he's had tons and tons of albums that he has released. He recorded over 70 albums, and in 2002, an album called The Soul and the Edge, the best of Johnny Paycheck, was released. Now, George Jones purchased this plot for him. Now, Johnny had emphysema, asthma, and after a lengthy illness, he died in Nashville in 2003 at 64 years old, and he was survived by a son and 2 daughters. He's got so many albums, but it's right here in this little area where George Jones is buried. Pretty surreal. Alrighty guys, I'm really glad you guys came with me today, that we were able to come and pay our respects at the grave of the possum, George Jones. That meant a lot to me, and to reminisce, talk a little bit about him, some of my favorite songs. Now, if you have any memories of seeing George or a favorite song or anything, let me know in the comments below. I really enjoy reading them. I'm glad you were able to come today, and we were able to see a few other graves. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll go on more adventures together. I always like to say life is like a book, and I want to read it with you. From chilly Nashville, Tennessee. Peace.